If you've ever wondered what it's like to go to the University of Michigan for 4 years and get a BFA in musical theater, then I'm gonna tell you exactly what it's like. Right now. Quick recap, I graduated in 2017 and I thoroughly enjoyed my 4 years obtaining my BFA in musical theater at Michigan. So a lot of this is very choose your own adventure, which I think is the coolest part about Michigan, is that because it's a huge university, everything about your college experience, even if it's within the musical theater program, can be extremely customizable. First things first, Ann Arbor. Lady Ann. Ann Arbor is one of the best college towns in America. It's like the perfect size of a little city town where you feel like there are things to do and there are people that live there that are not necessarily associated with the university. And my biggest complaint, I wish I could lie to you and say that Ann Arbor has the climate of Malibu, but it fully doesn't. It fucking sucks. You're just freezing the whole time you're there because the school year is exactly when the winter is. If you are someone that has only ever lived in, I don't know, Mexico and Texas, it's going to be tough, and I encourage you to not underestimate how much weather can affect your life. However, hot tip. If you're a person who loves musical theater and knows that one day you're going to live in New York City and be an actor, then I think going to school somewhere that's really cold, I think it's good, because then all the lessons you need to learn about cold weather, like how to thaw your body out in the morning before a dance class, and buying jeans that are bigger so that your thermal leggings fit underneath, and like what kind of snow boots you like. All that stuff you learn in a way less high intensity environment. Compared to those winters, the winters in New York have been extremely easy. So I'm grateful for that. Okay, quick geography lesson. This is the campus. Central Campus has all the important things that any college should have, plus most departments. It's very big. It's kind of in downtown Ann Arbor. There's a lot of student life and real town things to do. A little further up is North Campus, which is where the theater building is, the music building is, and also the engineering school, randomly. There's also a South Campus. I don't know what they do there. I think it's athletics and business. I went there once. Who cares? Freshman year, everyone lives in dorms that are on North Campus, but it's just delightful because you get to like live in a giant building with your entire class and get really close. Then sophomore, junior, and senior year, most people in the musical theater department move to an area of Ann Arbor called Carytown, which is right at the very northern tip of Central Campus, which is a perfect location to be in between North and Central Campus. It's good shitty college housing, but you know, you live it, you love it. I wish I knew how lucky I was that I lived within 6 blocks of all of my best friends for 3 years. Because now that I live in New York, and I have friends that live in Queens, they might as well live in Tennessee. Okay, now to the good shit. You love theater, you want to do theater. This is the organizations that do theater at Michigan that you could be a part of. Number 1, university productions called UProds. These are the department-sponsored productions that have a lot of university money. They're run by the professors and some guest artists. You audition at the beginning of the semester. It's usually like 2 shows per department per semester. And they're fancy. Everyone wants to be in a UProd. It's like, you know, prestigious to get in and to get a lead, and it's very exciting if you do. There's quite a bit of pressure on you because everything is run in a professional manner. It's everyone working at the top of their game at the thing that they're studying. There is very seldom any inter-department mixing for university productions. And you get college credit for doing those productions because that's what you're there to do, to study. And now, the best part of Michigan, in my humble opinion. There's an organization called Basement Arts. You may have heard of a little thing called Star Kid, a little play called A Harry Potter Musical. Well, it all started at Basement Arts, which is the student-run theater organization at the University of Michigan. Anyone in the entire university can audition or direct or produce for Basement Arts, which is incredible because you get to meet a lot of really cool, fun people and interact with people you might have not interacted with. Basement Arts has a very limited budget, basically zero, which means that you have to get creative, you have to think off your feet, you have to be resourceful, which is the best theatrical education you can get. The season is chosen by students at the beginning of the year. You pitch a show, and then you can participate, and you are not limited by major. So personally, I love Basement Arts because I got to try on every hat in my 4 years. I got to produce, I got to direct, I got to choreograph, I got to make prosthetic makeup, and I got to do a little bit of lights, and I got to write grants and ask for money, which is very important for an artiste, and it was probably the best, most meaningful part of my theatrical education. The other organizations are Musket, which has been around since time immemorial as part of the University of Michigan. Basically, Musket is a student-run organization that is backed up by the university at large, so they give people a lot of money each semester to make one huge musical that can involve people of the entire university. And then there's also another organization called Rude Mechanicals, which is basically like Musket but for plays, and they've also been around forever. There's a theater festival called Wall to Wall that I actually helped start my freshman year, and apparently is still going strong, which makes me so happy. But it's basically a weekend where the entire theater building turns into a museum where you see short, like 20-minute pieces in each room. So you can just walk around and see like a little bit of theater here, a little bit of theater here, a little bit of theater here. Basically at Michigan, if you're not busy, it's your fault. Hot tip, hot tip, hot tip, hot tip. Use this time and use these organizations, because when you go get a degree in musical theater and you only kickball change for 4 years, in my personal opinion, it's a little bit of a one-sided education. It's like if you went into medical school and you were like, I want to be a brain surgeon. I mean, that's cool, but I don't think you're going to be as good of a brain surgeon if you didn't learn, like, how legs work. Now we're going to talk about classes. So when you get to college, you're going to get there and they're going to hand you a piece of paper and they're going to go, hello, child, this is the major you want? Well, these are the things you got to do. Go ahead. And that piece of paper is going to include 2 different areas if you're a musical theater major. One is arts things, and the other one is non-arts things, which we call liberal arts. Arts for liberals. Imagine it's like 2 buckets that need to be filled. Certain parts of the buckets have to be filled with very specific items, but the rest of the bucket can be filled with whatever the hell you want to put in it. As long as it gets filled by the time you graduate, you're good. Let's start with the non-arts part of the bucket first, okay? The requirements that you have as a musical theater major are basically like a quarter of your credits are... Well, let me explain real quick how credits work, because if you've never been to college, you might not understand. A credit is like the weight that a class carries, and it does not necessarily correspond to how much time you spend in that class. So for example, a dance class costs 1 credit, and it meets twice a week for 90 minutes. However, an English class costs 4 credits, and it meets twice a week for 90 minutes. So you're spending the same amount of time in the classroom. However, because English class is, like gonna have a lot more homework, then that one's going to be weighted way heavier, which means that you can take 4 dance classes in the value of 1 English class. Does that make sense? It's usually something like this: a basic writing class, an advanced writing class, a certain amount of foreign language, and a certain amount of history, and like maybe one other thing. Once you finish those classes, you can take anything that fits into your schedule at the University of Michigan. You can find some ridiculous classes at your disposal, like Intro to Witchcraft, and like History of Michael Phelps in this pool, and the Religions of Minnesota. Sometimes there's classes that you can only take if you have completed basic levels. So for example, if you want to take like advanced rocket science and you didn't do basic rocket science, then you obviously can't take that. Hot tip, hot tip, hot tip. If there's a class you want, email the teacher and say, hey, I'm a good student. I'm really interested in this class because of X, Y, and Z. A lot of people in the University of Michigan know that the musical theater department is poppin', and they're very happy to have energetic, fun-loving people in their class who are, you know, smart and hardworking. What I'm saying is, it never hurts to ask. Don't take no for an answer. Fight for the classes you want. Die on the line trying to get the education that you want. Choose your own adventure. Now let's talk about the arts bucket. The first 2 years are your basics, so everyone takes the same music, the same dance, the same acting classes, and then at the end of your sophomore year you have an evaluation where you present some pieces to the faculty and then you talk about it, and they're like, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. And then the last 2 years are way more free. So of course there are things that you have to complete and like minimums you have to reach, and of course you have to pass all your classes. However, you can choose and say like, hey, I really, really, really want to be like a Broadway dancer, so I need to take 10 hours of ballet a week. How do I fit that in? Or you can be like, actually, I'm good with that. I'm just gonna like do the minimum of that, but like I'm really interested in directing, so I'm gonna see if I can go over to the directing department and take some of those classes. Fierce. This is the time. Your last 2 years of college are, I think, where University of Michigan really shines, because you can make time and space for whatever passions have come up in your first 2 years. I know you're going to be asking, okay, Aline, but Michigan, is it more like a music school, or like an acting school, or like a dance school? And I'm going to say, you know, especially your first 2 years are very evenly split between the 3 disciplines, but I think what makes Michigan stand out overall is the fact that there's a huge emphasis on book learning about theater. You have to take 2 years of theater history and 2 years of essentially musical theater history, and that is so important because if you love something, you need to learn all about it. Also, musical theater has not been around for that long. Showboat opened in 1927, so we don't even have 100 years of history to be worried about yet. So you can learn a lot in 4 years. Alright, I'm gonna flip the hat back around now. Maybe we can do a side hat. Okay, we're gonna do a side hat to talk about some other requirements of the degree. If you were someone who said, hello, I am an actor, I sing, I dance, I perform, I entertain my adoring crowd, and I will never crew a show, and then you get to college and you have to do a shit ton of crewing and you complain about it, you're not being smart. You're not being smart. You know why? Because if you want to be a theater maker, you have to learn it from all angles, and that's a very important part of your education. At Michigan, your first semester of freshman year, you don't perform, you don't even audition. Instead, what you do is that you crew the department musical of the first semester. You get assigned to the crew of lighting or sets or props or costumes, and then you spend like a month going to rehearsals, observing your upperclassmen working with the director, and you get to see what tech is like, you get to see what an equity stage manager runs a rehearsal like, and you get to learn how to be a spot op and light dancers as they're going around. Or you learn how to do a 17-piece quick change with your friend, or you learn how to style wigs every night. Whatever it is that you get assigned to do, it's going to be so valuable, because when you get to be a professional actor, you're going to know more of what's expected of you and how to make all of your coworkers' lives easier. And, hot tip, hot tip, hot tip, if you are good at crewing and you want to keep doing it, you can ask to do it for money next time. So for example, I love doing wigs for Little Night Music, so I was like, hey, if you need more hair help, can I do Les Mis next semester? And they were like, sure. And then I got paid an hourly wage at my university for doing more theater. Okay, the hat's going back to normal for this. Have you ever wondered if you can get a minor? Have you ever wondered if you can get a double major with musical theater? Okay, the answers are yeah and no. Minors are super doable because you already have a bucket of non-musical theater things that you have to fill. So if you find a minor that kind of overlaps with the things you have to do anyway, and then you structure yourself well and maybe do like a couple summer classes, it's super doable to get a minor. For example, if you want to get a minor in Spanish, fierce. You already have to do a foreign language requirement just to like graduate from Michigan anyway, so you just add a little bit more Spanish on top of that, and then you're done. Minor, good job. Yeah, you did it. If you want to do a minor in something random like veterinarian studies, that's going to be a lot harder because you're going to have to do like I don't know, biology and anatomy and equine science. And those are not included in what you're already having to do for musical theater, so that's gonna be a lot harder to schedule, but also probably doable. Minors are really easy to pull off. If you want to do a double major, that's a lot harder, because think of it as like different families. So the School of Music, Theater, and Dance, SMTD, where the musical theater department lives, knows everyone that is in that family quite well. So if you're a musical theater major and you want to double major in music theory, that's probably something that people could work on, because the department heads know each other, they all kind of interact in the same system. You have music theory requirements for musical theater anyway, so I'm sure that they can combine them. They can probably work something out with you. It's gonna be a shit ton of work, you're gonna have to wake up extra early, take extra classes, probably do summer stuff, but you could probably pull it off. If you wanna do a double major with like business, first of all, geographically, quite far, so scheduling classes next to each other is going to be hard. There's no overlap in the curriculum, and the department heads don't know each other. It's like a completely different family. So it will be very hard to schedule your like very important business requirement against your very important musical theater department, because I promise you they're gonna clash. I would be very surprised if you managed to pull off a double major in 4 years. 5 years, it's been done. I knew someone that did musical theater and math in 5 years, and with a lot of summer classes. That's more tuition money though, so you want to think about that. Another thing though, and I'm going to do a whole other video on this, is studying abroad. I studied abroad with something that had nothing to do with theater. Studying abroad is not only available, but highly encouraged at Michigan. Now, a fun topic. If you've seen any of the Michigan senior entrance videos, you can probably tell there's a lot of love in the department. It's around 80 people, and you spend so much high-octane emotional time with each other, so you get very close. Your class becomes your family. I'm 3 years out from graduation, and I just Zoomed my entire class yesterday. And we laughed and laughed and laughed. We have a tradition called the senior entrance, which is that the seniors write this fun song welcoming the new freshmen to the department. And then a little further into the year, the seniors get assigned freshman buddies. And then you also get to find out who was your senior buddy's senior buddy. So you have like a grand buddy that already lives in New York. So that's also cool that you can be like, hey, grand buddy, what is it like in the real world? And then there's other traditions, like for example, we play this game called Mafia every year where it's basically like a week-long thing, and there's like stickers, and you walk around, and through your day you have to like put stickers on people and kill them. It's very fun. Anyway, there's a lot of department traditions like that. Now, real talk, if you're listening to this with your parents, maybe like, college is a time where people want to be social, want to experiment. God knows I did. Some people don't do basically any of that, and that's cool too. I think the most beautiful thing is that the department is set up in a way where people don't judge. As long as you're still showing up and doing all the work you need to do. Freshman year, I was like, I want to try partying, and it really scared me. And then sophomore year, I was like, wait, now that I know everyone, I feel so well taken care of, and I feel actually very safe to be like, I'm going to go dancing tonight and like explore that in a safe way, because I know that I have 84 people around me. As someone who was not into partying and being very social in high school, I was very surprised at how fun and safe and illuminating it was to partake in like a bigger social circle and to go out. Okay, this is the biggest hot tip of Michigan. If you want to be an artist, I would say it behooves you to consume as much art as humanly possible. So the wonderful thing about Ann Arbor is that aside from all the theater that you're going to see your friends doing, there's also an organization called UMS, University Musical Society, which is basically like the University of Michigan brings in world-class artists of every discipline, like orchestras and dance companies and like cool rock bands, and also like jazz people and crazy performance artists and the National Theater. And they all come to Michigan, and you can go see them every weekend for quite cheap. It's literally like the caliber of entertainment that I would go to Lincoln Center now and pay $74 to go see in New York City, except it's in Michigan, right down the street for where you live, every weekend. For 4 years, I'm pretty sure I saw live entertainment every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, every single weekend for 4 years. Isn't that crazy? And then if you add the fact that Ann Arbor has two incredible art house cinemas, the Michigan Theater and the State Theater, that show like every movie you should be watching, they play it there. Every year they have like all the Oscar hits and like a lot of really fun special screenings, and there's the Ann Arbor Film Festival. They play all the Oscar shorts every year. Between UMS and the movie theaters, I feel like there is no excuse to be consuming world-class art done by professionals every single weekend. Plus, seeing what your peers and your students are making every single weekend. It's just crazy because now, like, I live in New York, it's an art city, but it's so much harder to go out and see things. You know what I mean? So, here's the tea. My honest review is that Michigan is an incredible place. It really lives up to the hype. And I think the hardest lessons that I learned in my time at Michigan were lessons that I needed to learn as an adult and as an artist, no matter where I ended up going. For example, I came in as someone who had been primarily a dancer my whole life. And freshman year, I realized I didn't want to be a chorus girl. I didn't really want to go down that path where I would be going to dance auditions every day. I was more interested in writing and directing and acting. So I had that conversation with the faculty and they were like, great, sounds good. Do this, take this directing class, write for these people, figure out how to do this with your friends. And it was so beautiful that they didn't say, hey, we picked you because you're a good dancer. There's a commitment in the faculty to the person, and through that, the artist that could emerge out of each individual student that they choose. The hardest things to learn in college are the life things, like how to pay rent on time, and how to have a fight with your roommate and not kill them. There's also some very intense things that I think only happen when you're a theater major, like, you know, you had this horrific breakup with someone and then you get assigned to do a scene with them the next month. Or like, you have to, you know, do a very intimate scene with someone that you don't really click with. Even just having to stand up and sing a song that makes you think about your dead grandma and crying in the middle of class. Like, I promise you chemistry majors don't cry in front of each other as much as we do. Another hard thing to learn is learning to learn. Even just learning how to memorize. In college, you're gonna have a shit ton of scenes and monologues and lyrics to memorize, like from a week to another. Guess what? In New York, that's literally all you do is you get like 24 pages and you're like, well, I have to perform this in a week, so like better learn it. For a lot of people, it's the first romantic and sexual relationships that you have in college, and like, that's hard to deal with. This is the time when all the mental health shit is gonna start peaking up. So if you're like, wow, my aunt with depression may have given that to me, and thankfully you have beautiful faculty who love you and care about you and have seen this before that can like hold your hand and help you and say, hey, these are the resources to learn with this thing. There's a lot of all-nighters, there's a lot of insane hours. Every single day of college, I was busy from 9 a.m. to midnight, at least. And the little hours that you have free, you really treasure because you just love the people that you're with and you want to like relax and unwind, and then inevitably there's creative stuff that comes out of that time even. A lot of people go to Michigan, they say, this is Broadway school. And I think, you know, that's beautiful. Yes, we all want to go to Broadway, but I think it's really important to take it as me school. How do I become adult me? These are the things that inspire me. These are my principles. These are the things that I value in others. This is how I want to treat the people around me. This is how I want to love. This is how I want to learn. And this is how I want to honor my creativity and say that, like, if I came in kickball changing and I want to leave music directing, that's cool too. So there you have it, folks. So glad you joined me. Go blue, as they say, the kids say. Follow and subscribe and like. And if you have any other questions about theater, Michigan, anything at all, let me know. For a lot of us, when you get to college, it's the first time that you're really interacting with a lot of people that are like really different from you, obviously, because you're geographically all thrown together. And it is very important for everyone, no matter how you personally identify, to get really used to not making assumptions about what anyone's particular skill set or lived experience could be. Have you ever had any moments, Chris, where you feel like people just kind of assume that you would know something?
You know what? I have a really great story about this, actually, that this just popped up.